Hello, and welcome to our founder track session, Extending Your Runway, Smart Scaling Your Business at Denver Startup Week 2020. That is 100% virtual this year. My name is Soshil Samuel, and during the next 10 minutes that we spend together, we'll cover how to extend, scale, and create incredible advantages for your business. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to get started with a segment called the 5-minute MBA. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get to it. Over the next few minutes, we're going to cover costs, break even, profit and loss, and all from a time and money perspective. So we're going to go ahead and set this thing up. And what you'll see on our horizontal x-axis is that set up as time. And on the Y to the sky vertical axis, that one's set up as money. So now let's go ahead and start adding some costs. The first types of costs that we're going to add are fixed costs. And you can see that we've got that nice constant line across our graph. You'll see that fixed costs are things like payroll, salaries, and monthly bills. However, the next type of costs that we're going to add are variable costs. And you'll see those are things like usage-based costs, licenses, commissions, and they're the kind of costs that as your business grows, these costs grow. So we'll go ahead and get that built in, and the combination of fixed and variable are our total costs, right? Pretty easy. So now that we've got that covered, let's go ahead and move on to revenue, also known as sales. And what you'll see here is, revenue is incredible. It's awesome. It's super important. As a matter of fact, it is so important that if you don't have revenue, if you don't have sales, you don't have a business. However, what you can see is when revenue is lower than your total costs, you're actually operating your business at a loss. And that is until you hit this wonderful break-even point. And now you can see once you get past break-even, you're operating your business at a profit. Well, that's what we wanted to do to really level set the variable costs, fixed costs, profit, loss, and revenue. See, it was all super simple. So we'll go ahead and move on to how we can start improving that business model. And we're going to start with hacking the fixed costs. And the sole point of doing that is to really pull in that break even and increase your profits. So that sounds good. Let's go ahead and get to it. Same scale here. What you'll see is the variable costs have increased pretty significantly, right? And you'll see the drivers for that are we've moved things like freelancers, gig, and fractional over into the variable costs. And what we've done is lowered the fixed costs by removing or reducing things like payroll and salaries. And what we're really trying to do is, as close as possible, limit those fixed costs to our monthly bills. So I think we all agree, we all can see that our total cost model looks a little bit different. Now let's add revenue and see what happens. Look at that. So you can see that really pulled in the break-even point on our timeline. We're achieving break-even much, much sooner. And we are significantly increasing our profit. So that's pretty cool. Now let's talk about scaling the business using the fixed and variable costs, specifically as it applies to expanding margins. As work moves from strategic, early, high skill types of functions to more of establishing process and systems, what you can do is you can start to move that type of work and the resources supporting it into lower cost fixed resources. You'll see we've taken some of that variable cost and moved it over to fixed. However, as your business grows and changes, of course, there's going to be new needs for higher skilled, strategic, expensive types of resources in new areas, but you'll want to bring them in as variable costs, right? And then over time, as they kind of work towards process and systems, you move them to fixed, and then you move in some new resources as variable. So that, hopefully that all makes sense. So that's how you scale your business. Now there are a couple of things that we definitely need to address there, right? I like to call it the dream and the nightmare of scaling. So you'll see here that the dream is really reaching a certain point and moving everything to fixed. And wow, it's awesome. It looks very, very tempting. Look at that dream of like how big that margin is really, really going to get when you just move everything over to fixed. However, as you'll see, when fixed resources are really pulled into some of the functions that are better suited for variable and more strategic and higher skilled, more senior types of resources, what that actually does is they get pulled out of their sweet spot of process and systems, and it gets very expensive, it gets bureaucratic, and it dramatically increases the fixed costs of your business, creating just an absolute nightmare situation for your margins. And now you don't have enough room to add in those variable costs. So you've got no choice but to cut, and to cut hard. And unfortunately, when you're cutting, you're going to end up cutting operational folks who are trying to do strategic stuff. So you're cutting both of those capabilities. The real key here is to avoid this scenario and address it if you're ever tempted by it. So now we are kind of moving on from scaling from a financial perspective and talk about some other advantages. So other advantages of scaling are leveraging the power of diversity. You have this flexibility and you're going to be able to tap into diversity to really cover blind spots for yourself and for your team. You'll be able to do this really quickly. So we know diverse teams come, by adding as much ethnicity and gender diversity to really cover those blind spots. And this allows you to do it. It also allows you to tap in to senior level people, really experienced, mature, kind of executive type of people, if you will, who've got mature networks, who have a ton of connections that they've earned over their careers. And you can get at them quickly and cost effectively. It's also very easy in this variable model, the gig fractional model, to test those combinations and reconfigure and change and tailor them to work best for your business. So thanks for making it to the end of our time. Here are a few takeaways. You want to pull in your break even and extend your runway. Use freelancers, gig, and fractional for high cost, high scale strategic. And when you standardize, move it to lower fixed cost resources. You also want to stack the deck with talent, right? In business, you want to create as many unfair advantages and stack the deck in a way that's going to give you the highest probability for success. Of course, we never want to be unethical. We want to do everything completely legal. But this model really allows you to do that. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, if you want to discuss anything further. Thanks, and have an awesome time at Denver Startup Week 2020.